Yeah, and we're recording. So, hi, good afternoon. I am here with the Samuel Proctor Oral History Program. Today is March 9th, 2021. That sounds about right. And we are here as part of our series on the Machen, Florida Opportunity Scholars Program. So if you'd just like to introduce yourself, maybe your name, and then the years that you entered and left the program, and where you're living now.
Gotcha. So I'm Jerome Fulton Jr. I attended UF and I was a fellow for the Match and Florida Opportunity Scholars Program from August 2011 to May 2015. And I currently live in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, excellent. So, we can start just by asking what brought you to UF? How did you end up there, and what was that journey like for you?
Absolutely. So I was actually living in Georgia at the time, and I had grown up in Florida. And I really wanted to get back to Florida. I didn't really like Georgia. All of my friends were, in Florida, and some of them were going to UF. So my school actually took the top 10% of the students to the Georgia Dome for a college fair. And so I just saw like University of Florida and just saw like the tent. So I went and I grabbed the pamphlet and I was like, okay, my test scores and GPA is somewhat within the range. And, I applied 2 days before the deadline. I applied October 30th, 2010, and then I got in. So honestly, it was happenstance and like just recognition, recognizing a brand and wanting to go back to Florida.
Wow, okay. So really, really circumstantial to not and more generally growing up, what was your relationship to education? What was your relationship to like both higher ed and just regular your education growing up?
Yeah, I grew up in a household where education was key. So that was like the forefront of our lives. So you could not bring home anything less than a B. I grew up like in a very strict household when it came to education. In terms of higher education, I didn't have much exposure. Like I didn't know many people that went to college, but it was like for me, it was understood that I was going to go to college regardless. Although like I didn't know many people that attended college before. But when I was in elementary school, I remember the first school I went to on a visit was Bethune-Cookman College. It was actually, I think, BCC then. It wasn't a university yet. And that was the magnitude of the exposure to higher education that I received as a child.
Okay. So then when you applied to University of Florida, and did you what was your expectation, and then getting into the MFOs program, what was that like for you? um could you walk me through what that process was?
Yeah, I didn't really have any expectations for college. For me, it was just like I wanted to get away from home. I wanted to go to school and be on my own. So UF was just kind of like, honestly, happenstance for me. Like it was just like just my luck that I ended up at such a great institution where I would, be taken care of financially. So my upbringing is a little different from a lot of other people. Like both of my parents were murdered when I was a kid. So I was actually raised by various family members. So for me, going to college was my way to kind of get away from everything and all the negativity and kind of like have a blank canvas to start my own journey. And so because I was living in Georgia at the time, I didn't know I would qualify for MFOS. So it was FOS at the time I applied. So I emailed someone in the financial aid office. Her name was Karen Fuchs because I found the scholarship online. I'm like, well, hey, I'm eligible, for the scholarship, and my legal guardian was still a resident of Florida. So technically, I was a resident of wherever she was, and so that's how I found it. I felt like I was eligible for it, and I got it. And when I got it, I was ecstatic because I like finances was not going to be a deterrent for me receiving an education. So I was extremely, happy and blessed to receive it. I did not know the magnitude of the blessing that I was getting at the time, but I knew that I wasn't going to have a bunch of student loans.
Yeah. So I guess we can go into getting your experience transitioning into college, you talked about, like, how I understand it, you really wanted a blank slate, and this was kind of a period of reinvention for you in college. So what was that transition like? How were your first few months in college?
Well, first, I wouldn't say it would be a reinvention. It
Okay.
was just more so to like do what I wanted to do without restraint or without, undue influence from others. So, growing up, there were many things that I wanted to do, but because I'm a minor, I couldn't, force myself to do these things. So it was more so about doing the things that I was passionate about and things that I've always wanted to do all along. So it wasn't really a reinvention. It was more so of an application of who I already am, or who I was at the time. And so for my first few months of college, I actually spent a lot of time at home. I was not like super involved. I didn't hit the ground running. I tried to get involved in some things and it didn't really work out. It was extremely political, and I was like kind of very green about like the politics when you apply. Like, I'm thinking I can just go into an organization, I show up and I raise my hand, I want to run for office, and then that's just what it was. But no, it was like an entire system where if you want to be in student government, you have to align with this party and this organization. So when I had that first experience my freshman year, it kind of discouraged me from being involved. So I came like extremely eager to like get involved. But once I kind of went like experienced the politics of student involvement, I kind of retreated and I spent a lot of time going to class, going back home, and I probably would go maybe to like one or two things. But like the first few months, I just spent kind of building myself up academically.
Okay. Um, did that change for you? Was there a point where you just like where that retreat kind of stopped? If so, what was that? How did you overcome that?
I'm my spring semester of my freshman year. I met some really cool individuals that were super involved, and they were just telling me, "Oh, you would be great for this." And I have been in class with them and kind of trusted their judgment. So I was like, "Well, why not?" I'm seeing like how student involvement has helped them like gain internships and had like really robust resumes. And then also my freshman year, I applied to the Florida Leadership Academy and I got in, and then I'm surrounded by the top 100 business students at UF who are like super involved in all areas on campus, from the business school to affinity clubs and cultural clubs to student government. So just being surrounded by such dynamic talent, and I'm a competitive, so I'm like, I don't want to be left behind. I don't want to be the only one that is only doing this. So that kind of just put that fuel up in me. So like Florida Leadership Academy, which I call FLA, and some really cool individuals that I met who eventually become lifelong friends that kind of, motivated and encouraged me to do so.
Wow, okay. I'm not super familiar with FLA. Could you explain that just a little bit?
Yeah. So the Florida Leadership Academy is a pre-professional development program for the top 100 business students at the University of Florida. So you apply your freshman year, and then you go every Friday of your sophomore year, and there's different professional development seminars. You may have one on business etiquette, team building. You have different speakers from different companies come in, like Google and Altria and consulting firms. So it's a program to help second year students develop into business leaders at school and even beyond. So I did the program for 3 years. So there's mentors. There's like five students per mentor. So when you're a sophomore, you're one student who has a mentor. So you have a mentor group within a broader group, the 100 students. And then if you continue on the program, your junior year, you become a mentor. And then senior year, you become on the advisory board where you're helping out with programming and really structuring and making the program better for the sophomores.
Oh,
So
wow.
I did that for 3 years, which is an involvement that I truly love.
Yeah, no, that sounds incredible. What did you learn from those mentors, kind of like as you started out in this program? What were the key takeaways from that?
One of the key takeaways is that if you're knocking on the door and no one is open, the door is not opening, find another way to get in. So just continue to tap into that grit and be resilient. And you're not going to get everything. You're going to have pitfalls, but you get back up and keep going. And also, more tactically speaking, like how to be a working professional. So a lot of times, some individuals didn't grow up with parents that were like, executives in the company or had corporate jobs. Some were more blue collar, but just building up on that business acumen and simple things is like, when you go to work, you don't say Mr. or Mrs. Like everybody is on a first name basis. So growing up in my household, if you're older than me, significantly, I call you Mr. or Mrs. But that's kind of taboo in a working environment. So just some of those household items, but big picture is to remain resilient and just keep going despite any obstacles you may face.
Yeah. I wanted to go back a little bit, kind of in that vein, because you talked about getting to UF, you felt that there were certain values and passions that you hadn't really been able to explore before. Is that correct? What were those values? What were those passions? What were you trying to unlock that you were wanting to pursue?
Yeah. I would say using my story and life experiences to help others. Because I knew that coming from an environment that I was in, there weren't a lot of people that looked like me that actually went back into those communities to give back. And then when those students came on campus, they had someone that was familiar, that didn't seem like, an alien. Because like back when I was growing up, I didn't know many people that went to college. So for me, I wanted to be that for individuals at UF that were just like me, and even beyond within the Gainesville community and my home community. So like to really mentor individuals and use my story to kind of bring awareness that we're not all monolithic. We all don't come from, extremely successful family or backgrounds. Like some of us have more checkered paths that are no fault of our own. We're just kids, and bringing awareness and bringing light to that, and also inspiring those individuals to know that you can be whatever you want to be. It doesn't always have to be, where it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And I wanted to be that beacon of light for others.
No, that's excellent. And at what point I don't know if this question will make sense, but at what point do you feel like, was there a point in your college experience when you felt like you started to really accomplish that goal? Like through your involvements, was there a time that you, like, was there a turning point in that? Anything like, if that makes sense.
I don't know if I would say it's a turning point, because even as a freshman, I met other students that did not have a strong grasp on how to navigate UF, like even like picking classes and majors. Like I kind of knew what I wanted to do coming into school, and there were many students who didn't. So a lot of, friends I had from childhood that were at UF, or like friends that I made, kind of helping them out, like craft, like, their career goals and like what they want to be. But I would say it kind of heightened my sophomore, junior year, because I had gone through a full year. And then like, I entered my sophomore year with like a 3.9 GPA. So I had the credibility of showing like, I know what I'm talking about. I am doing well academically and, in student involvement wise. So I would say my second year, it kind of heightened, and, I started meeting more individuals, and, I had freshmen that came in that I mentored, and then I kind of like grabbed a hold and say, hey, you're a business major. Let me help you, let me pour into you like others poured into me. So that's kind of where I would say the inflection point was, if there were.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. So we can specifically talk about MFOS now. What did that mean to you as a student? In what ways did that program really specifically impact you and influence your journey through undergrad?
Yeah. So like I said before, MFOS, I didn't know the magnitude that it had outside of the money, things being taken care of. But when I got there, I realized I had a family and a supportive network. And Leslie was like my biggest champion. I remember coming into her office, because like I told you, my first semester, I was kind of like a hermit retreating. And I went to her and I was like, I want to transfer and I want to go to the University of Miami. I don't like it here. And she was so honest with me. She said, so you're going to leave behind your full scholarship to go take out loans somewhere else. I need you to rethink this. Like, she didn't pacify me. She didn't buy into my, my temporary emotions. She was a straight shooter, which I enjoyed. And we started off with a very contentious relationship. But as time progressed and evolved, like, she became someone that I really admired and became one of my biggest advocates, from, writing my recommendation letter for the UF Hall of Fame, to other awards. And I believe she even wrote one of my grad school recommendation letters. So she just became a huge champion of mine. And aside from the financial benefits, but just the community of individuals that I had access to being an MFO scholar, really helped me navigate the grade and really succeed at the University of Florida. And, and I got to Leslie would reach out to me and say, hey, I have this student that I really think you can help out, because she recognized some of the things that I struggled with and how I was able to evolve and grow and realize that I could help others do the same. So it was really a paying it forward mentality. That's something that I really gained from MFOS. Once you have established yourself where you're in a process, reach back to help others that may be struggling or may not be doing as well. And so I even have a nonprofit now where I, award scholarships to students from, low income backgrounds and experienced tragedies. And, I kind of got that, I would say, philanthropic boost from being an MFOS scholar and seeing how, individuals, took money out their own pockets to donate without even, knowing who I am or who others are, but seeing the bigger picture and seeing the mission behind what MFOS is doing, and just being supportive and pouring into it. So that's my long story about MFOS.
Yeah, incredible. So you mentioned a nonprofit. Could we speak about that a little bit, how that came about and your goals with that and how it developed?
Absolutely. So it's kind of funny. When I was applying to college, I was looking for scholarships specifically for students who, did not have parents. And most of the scholarships were for students who lost their parents, through military casualty or cancer. And I didn't meet either of the criteria. So I was really on the hunt to how can I get college paid for? And then so the blessing in disguise was MFOS, because I had done all that work looking for aid. And then I believe April, maybe March or April of 2011 is when I actually got the scholarship notification. But during that process, I said, well, when I get on my feet, when I'm established, I want to start a scholarship fund specifically for individuals who have lost a parent to gun violence, because, I lost both of my parents to gun violence. So I have the Angel B. Wilson Foundation, which is named after my mom. I started it unofficially in 2017, and I got it approved by the IRS as a 501c3 in 2019. So I've been operating in an official capacity since 2019. And last year, we awarded 3 students scholarships. One actually goes to UF, so I was really happy about that. And then this year, we're trying to do more than we did. We're gonna award more scholarships than we did last year. So I'm just extremely proud about the work that I've done, and just I've tapped into my UF and MFOS network to raise money. So just continuing that path forward of giving back and fundraising, something that I learned from MFOS.
Wow. Okay. So do you stay in contact with the students that receive the scholarship? What is that relationship like? How has that been, kind of being able to follow them and support them?
So it's only been 1 year. So I periodically email them to check in. Some student, it's only 3 students so far, but 1 or 2 may not respond, others may. But what I'm doing this year, I reached out to the students and asked if they wanted to be on the scholarship review committee, just to keep them engaged and seeing what we went through to pick you all, because we received 27 applicants and had to pick 3. So just keeping them a part of the organization, and just sparking in their minds to always give back, you want to give. If an organization gives something to you, you want to continue giving back to that organization. So that's the path forward I'm doing. Also, I paired them with mentors within their respective aspirational career field. So if someone wants to be a doctor, paired them with someone in med school, just so that they can have that direct representation. So how well they manage that relationship is on their own. I can't, hold their hand, because I have to do a million other things, but I'm providing them with access to resources, and it's up to them if they take it or not.
Yeah, no, access to resources is so vital, and that's incredible. I guess there's so much that we can delve into, but I think we can move into kind of your later years in undergrad because you mentioned things like the UF Hall of Fame. So quite a bit was happening for you, obviously. What were those last couple of years like? What degree did you pursue? What kind of how did your life kind of pan out as you were finishing and leaving UF, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I got a degree in accounting, and I would say I was busy all day, every day. From my second year on to my last year, I was in meetings every other day. I was a part of the Florida Leadership Academy. I was a part of the Minority Business Society as their treasurer and community service director at different points. I was a bump mentor, which is the business undergraduate mentorship program. I was the assistant treasurer for the Black Student Union. I sat on some boards. I joined Savant Leadership Honorary, where I became the treasurer. So like I was like busy nonstop. I had so many different things, and then like I was also mentoring a bunch of students, like tutoring them and helping them pick their. So every day I was super busy, leading a meeting, like all the time, trying to stay afloat in classes. So like I went from not doing a lot my first semester to doing too much. But like my last 3 years were super busy and fulfilling. I got to do a lot of things that I wanted to do. I got to study abroad. I got to do so much within those 4 years. So, I was truly able to do things that I wanted to do and things that I've never been exposed to. So, that was great. And so like with all that combination of all those experiences, I got inducted into the UF Hall of Fame. I was awarded the Distinction in Leadership and Service Award from the Warrington College of Business. I think I was the only award recipient that year in 2015. I got the Outstanding Male Senior Leader from the Black Student Union. I got like a bunch of different awards. So, that was great to see all that I had put into UF, and it was all coming back to me. And I didn't do it to receive awards. It just so happened to work out that way. So I was like grateful to see these organizations and even the university to see value in all of the contributions that I've made. So, that was a blessing in itself.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and so upon graduating, what were you doing right after graduation? Did you go straight into work? What was the situation?
So typically in accounting, you go get your master's to sit for your CPA exam. So while I was at UF, I interned 2 times, and then I interned the summer after I graduated. So I graduated in May. I moved to Charlotte in June and interned with PwC. And then I moved to LA in August to do my Master of Accounting at USC, University of Southern California. So I interned, moved out west to go to school, and then I graduated from USC in May of 2016. And then I came back to Florida, spent a couple months there. I did a program called Upward Bound. I was a RA for Upward Bound that summer, and I studied for the CPA exam to get my CPA license. Moved to Charlotte in I think August or September of 2016, and started working with Ernst & Young as a financial services consultant.
Excellent. Okay. What was your time in graduate school like? How do you want to say anything about that, living in California? What was that like?
It was expensive. I did not have MFOs in California, so I took out student loans to subsidize my education. It was fun living out in California. Definitely a different vibe from Gainesville. I would say the school definitely has a lot of school spirit like Gainesville. So the games were always packed. So that was kind of similar, but it was just like I went from an environment where like most of a very small environment. My program was like 160 students, and then it was split between the tax students and the general accounting students. Like I think it was like a 80-80 split. I could be wrong, but it was much more intimate. I was in class with individuals that were older. I probably was one of the younger students in my class. So, it was a range of ages and individuals that, had careers already and came back and went to school. So it was definitely much different, a lot more group projects, but I truly enjoyed my time out there. Love living in LA, but it was truly expensive.
Yeah. And I
Very.
guess, like, maybe not, but were there challenges in being in such a different environment? Because I would assume just just the student body of UF compared to USC and um things of that nature. Was it different and was it challenging in any way, or did you have the confidence that it wasn't a huge issue for you?
I wouldn't say it was a huge issue for me because I can adapt into any environment. So
Hmm.
it's never really the environment that I'm in. Like I'm gonna find a way to thrive either way. I would say that I was not like as an undergraduate student, you're way more involved and connected to the university. I was more so connected to my program. So like I really wasn't involved in many student orgs. Like I was 11th all ambassador. So I helped recruit students to USC's Master of Accounting program, and I had a job. I was a student assistant, working in for one of my professors. So the dynamics were completely different. So I would say I would say that the students were more showy. So like you go to the parking lots, you see Mercedes Benzes and BMWs. So like I would say the students flaunted their wealth a lot more at USC. That was definitely different. But I mean, I didn't really engage that much with the undergrads. It was more so with students in my program who were extrememely mature, had already gone through undergrad. So like this experience was about, getting a job, like getting the job that I want and doing well. So I didn't have too many slackers in my group because like I said, everyone was, at a minimum 22 years old on average and older. So, that experience was extremely different.
For sure. So when did you decide to be an accounting major and when did you decide to pursue that? Where did
In
that?
high school.
Wow.
In high school. So I had to do a career project, and I Googled which jobs have the lowest 0% unemployment rate, and it was like CPA. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do my project on this. Did it, presented it. That was I think I was in ninth or 10th grade. By the time I got in 11th grade, my pre-calculus teacher told me, she said, "You're very good at math. You need to be an accountant." So my yearbook says Jerome Fulton Jr., major accounting and political science. And then when I got to UF, my advisor told me that accounting is hard. You should switch your major. So I switched my major to finance. I was a finance major for almost 3 years. And then I went to a conference at Wake Forest University, which was a accounting diversity conference. And I met a Black partner, and he was like, you should definitely do accounting. You're competent. You can do it. So when I got back January 2014, I switched my major back to accounting, and then I said, all right, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna just write out. So I was behind a semester, and at that point, I had already done all of my finance coursework. I needed one more class to graduate, so I could have graduated a year early. So like I doubled up on class my spring semester of my junior year, and I that semester spring, I decided to go full out and complete the major.
Oh my gosh. So this may be a stupid question, but why do you think your advisor told you to switch?
I mean, at the time, I felt like it was because of my race. She probably didn't feel like I can do it. There weren't many Black students in the accounting school, and that's my initial thought. I'm like, why are you telling me this? Like, you don't know my capabilities. But then as I delved into it a little bit more, a lot of students will declare their major as accounting and then switch out because they can't pass introductory to financial accounting. So immediately I'm like, why? Like, I thought the worst, but as I progressed through the program, I saw like the financial accounting had probably like over a 50% drop rate where a lot of people dropped out and they would go take it at community colleges because the intro classes were so hard. So since then, a lot of folks came in and decided to major in it. They switched their major. But then I did feel like there was probably some racial bias there as well, telling me to switch without knowing my capabilities. But I didn't really ask for like an explanation. I just already felt some sort of imposter syndrome coming into the university as well. So it was just reinforced by her telling me that.
No, as a freshman, that would definitely sway your decision a lot. Do you think because you spoke about going to Wake Forest and like find like seeing representation there, do you think things have improved since you've graduated in the field? In just terms of representation, or have they stayed the same?
No, they've been the same for like the past probably 50 years in the
Wow.
profession. So when I graduated from UF, there were me and two other Black students graduating with an accounting degree. So the numbers are abysmal in the business school and are even worse in the accounting school. And then the broader profession, African Americans represent less than 1% of CPAs. So there's a pipeline issue because you may have advisors tell their freshmen that you can't do this, so you need to switch. So, and then even beyond that, I didn't have not one Black business professor, so that representation was, just not there. But I did meet an MFOS scholar by the name of Anesh Jafar. She was an accounting student. She was 2 years older than me, and she just reassured. She's like, "You can do it. Don't let anybody tell you you can't do it." She ended up going to USC for her master's, which I did the same thing. So just having that representation on campus, and I think she was maybe one of two Black accounting students that graduated. And then UF, the Fisher School of Accounting, actually posts the demographics of their graduates every year. So this is public information that you can go look and verify. So, the representation is extremely low.
Wow. Did you meet her through MFOS, the junior accounting student, or how did y'all
So
connect?
I met her at a Black Student Union retreat. So she came to do a panel, and she spoke about how she was an accounting major. And then in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I know that's what I want to major in, but this lady is telling me I can't do it. So, but I met her there, and we kind of had very similar life stories. Like she had lost both of her parents. So it was like kind of seeing a direct image of yourself in a female's body. So, just having someone that, and she was also in the Florida Leadership Academy. She like had done Wright Scholars just like I did. So we had very similar profiles and ambitions, and we still talk today. And she was MFOS as well. So just like seeing someone that you have a lot in common with, was just the motivation and inspiration I needed to keep chugging along and not allow, not succumb to self-doubt or the doubt of others.
No, yeah, that's crazy how that connection happened. Like really incredible. Um, well, there's so much we could delve into. But we can shift over now, and I will ask, how do you stay connected to MFOS today?
Yeah, so each year I do the Gators social media ambassador program for MFOS. So Leslie, emails me and say, "Hey, I need you to be a social media ambassador. You know, come through." Like, so I help fundraise, and anytime she sends me a student, that's a business student that she feels like could benefit from my mentorship, I'm always there. And anytime I get nominated to do like a panel or a virtual event, I make sure that I'm staying connected and plugged in. But Leslie has truly been my lifeline of staying in contact with MFOS, having her personal number, and, and she's also my Facebook friend. So I'm always seeing what she's doing with MFOS. I'm also part of the MFOS Facebook group, where I'm just staying abreast of, current events and different initiatives that the program is launching. So, from social media, and also just having a personal relationship with Leslie.
And so you mentioned the like various like events and panels that you've been on. So how are you staying connected with the greater university as a whole? What avenues have you done that through?
Yeah. So that's been kind of like through my involvement. So recently, FLA reached out to me to do an alumni panel, which I did. I also did like a DEI workshop with I think he's the director of the business school. I think he's the dean of the business school, Dr. Alex Sevilla. So like having a think tank and seeing like how we could increase representation of Black and Brown students within the business school, and like how can we make their experience better. And DeKendrick Murray, he is a previous MFOS fellow scholar. He works at the University of Florida with the TRIO Upward Bound program. So just staying connected with him. Anytime he reaches out, for me to do a panel, I drop everything and I'm there. So just staying in contact with people that are rooted at the university, whether through employment or like advisory boards, and just maintaining genuine relationships with previous scholars and administration.
Yeah. Okay. When you have these discussions about like opening up the business school and making sure that people have opportunities in a place that has been so scarce with representation, do you see things being implemented now, or are there things that you would like to see implemented in the future?
Yeah, I don't have the visibility to say that they're not, because typically these initiatives take time to roll out. So I don't want to make such a bold statement and say no. Have I seen them yet? No, I haven't. I'm not privy to that information. So, I probably wouldn't. But in terms of initiatives that I would like to see, I would like to see like a Black alumni board within the business school, just to keep to have a face of successful alums that Black and Brown students can look to and say like, hey, I want to be like that person. Because representation does matter. Like, yes, you can find someone that looks nothing like you, or not from your similar background, and still be inspired and to want to emulate some of the things they've done. But I feel like having someone that you can truly relate to, whether it's aesthetically or culturally or socioeconomically, does a whole lot more. And I think that you need a combination of all those things, of allies and others that look like you, to really drive it forward. And so just having that alumni board of young alumni board to keep Black students connected, because I don't really feel a connection to the accounting school or to the business school. Mm-hmm. I feel connected to the University of Florida and to MFOS, and I spent a lot of time there. So like if Leslie reaches out to me and say, hey, I need you for this, I'm going to do it. If the Fisher School of Accounting reached out to me, I probably wouldn't take the call, just being honest, because I didn't have a great experience there, within the accounting school. Now the business school, Horace Tucker, he was the director of the Florida Leadership Academy, African-American male. Since I've graduated, I still talk to him all the time. He's been like amazing throughout my growth and development at UF, and he's retired. So like having that connection through the business school, that I don't really have it that much, but and to preface, there's a Warrenton College of Business, which is the umbrella. There's a Heavener School of Business, and there's a Fisher School of Accounting. Mm-hmm. I love the Heavener School of Business. The Fisher School of Accounting has a lot of work to do. They have not been kind to many Black and Brown students at all.
Yeah, so I guess aside from the obvious lack of fellow Black students, what were the challenges within the School of Accounting? What did you experience that really kind of soured that relationship?
When I went to go pick out my schedule and, being able to take certain classes, they would say, no, you can't take this class. Or I was applying for it when I studied abroad. I did a short-term study abroad that was over spring break. And instead of the person looking at it says, oh, no, you don't have it. You don't have time in your schedule to study abroad. No, like you can't do it. Like the curriculum isn't based for you to study abroad. So the accounting school is all based around you doing the 3-2 program. You do 3 years of undergrad, 2 years of grad school. That way you graduate in 5 years with a bachelor's and a master's. Because like typically that's how the school gets its rankings, how many people pass the CPA exam and things of that nature. So there's not a lot of flexibility to kind of chart your own path and do what you want to do. So, they tried to not let me study abroad, and I had to go back and fight for it. I remember there was a time I had 3 final exams in one day, and I'm like, this curriculum is extremely tough. And I'm like asking like, hey, is there any way I can get my exam moved? I received a generic email that said, per university policy, you can take up to 4 exams in one day. I'm like, it's not about what the policy is. It's about a student. You're supposed to meet my needs and help me succeed as a student, But then when I graduate, guess what? I see my face all in write-ups on the Fisher School of Accounting, Jerome Fulton, accounting student gets U of Hall of Fame. Like, you guys never supported me ever. And to be fair, I didn't have many interactions with them up until like my senior year, because my freshman year through junior year, I was a finance major, but the time that I did spend with them, it was not pleasant at all.
God, I'm sorry to hear that. That is awful. And so how do you kind of in your work now and in everything that you have done that we've discussed to this point, how are you feeling like you're in a position to better the experience of students and of people coming into the field? What are your goals and what do you feel like you've already accomplished in that sense?
Yeah, my goals is to help other professionals, regardless of your race, background, to enjoy the work that you're doing. And when you decide not to, I want to be a resource to say, here are some opportunities that I know of, go out and do whatever you want to do. And then, so that's what I really want junior practitioners that, report to me or that's new to the firm to have an equitable experience. And a lot of times, coming, if you're a minority, you're a woman, you're a person of color, it's not always like that, because 70% of the firm is probably going to be, well, I would say at least 50% of the firm is probably going to be white male when it comes, but leadership is probably going to be more like 80%. So it's like the ones that are making decisions and setting the tone at the top are not representative of the entire workforce. So, there's that, but it's for me using my voice, because I'm going to speak up, I'm going to say something. So it's like, using my voice and my platform to help others advance and get the things that they need to successful. And not just about, meeting your needs, but also your wants. Like, there are so many things that we want to do, and like your lack of experience should not limit that, or your, aesthetic should not prevent you from getting things because, the client wants a white male that golfs or that went to a school in the Carolinas. So it's about me using my platform to help make the experience of others better. And, what the way I've done that is that I partner with the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, which is a governing board for CPAs. And I was an inclusion champion for about 18 months there. And so my job was to teach unconscious bias trainings at companies and different organizations, and also recruit high-performing minorities to the profession to say, hey, we need you here, because if you don't want to come here, the issue is never going to be solved. Like, we're never going to be able to reduce the economic gap, the economic disparity within the profession, and also the racial disparity within the profession. So being that face of and that representation for other students to see that you can be somebody that's honest, that, that has personality, and still thrive in this profession. You don't have to fit the traditional mold or the monolith that's out there.
Okay. And so in that 18 months when you were working like for inclusion and going around and doing this, did you see results? Did you feel like steps were being made? What was that like? What was that work like?
Yeah, I've seen results. I mean, on a micro level, on a macro level, don't have that visibility into it, but, just going to HBCUs and talking to students at North Carolina A&T and, talking about my journey and my story. Cause like a lot of times to get like the big four accounting, the Deloitte's, PwC's of the world, it's extremely hard to get into. And so like just saying, hey, look, I have all these, I guess, stigmas against me, my background and where I come from, but look where I am now. Like, it doesn't matter about all that stuff. And I've been in professional services going on 5 years now. So it's like, I've been here for a long time. I'm thriving, I'm doing well. You can do the same thing. Like, just, show up authentically and be yourself. Yeah, there are going to be challenges, but you have to stick it out, because guess what? If I had left the first time I experienced a microaggression, or, I felt like, things were done because of my race, you wouldn't be talking to me right now. Like, you wouldn't be hearing this voice. So sometimes you have to make a sacrifice, in the name of helping others in the long term.
Excellent. Yeah, really well said. I want to open it up just a little bit. Do you have any memories or stories from your work, either in that 18 months or just more broadly in the field, that come to mind that you would like to share? If not, that's okay. But just, do you have any specific interactions or times that really come to mind thinking about the work that you've done so far?
Yeah, it was, well, one instance in particular. I was at a conference and I met a student. She was from Trinidad and she had come to the States when she was 16 after she had graduated high school. And by this time, she was in her early 30s. She was at a very small accounting school in Fort Myers. And she was like, the Big Four does not recruit at my school. Like, I really want to go work for a big firm and get my CPA, but she just felt like she didn't have the confidence to do so. And so, she was, much older than I was. I was maybe about 22 or 23 at the time. And I think I was 22. But she like, can you be my mentor? And I'm like, sure. But, she was much older than me. But to kind of move the story along, I gave her all of my UF contacts from the firm. So like you go through recruiting season, I looked at my UFL email, saw all the Deloitte's and PwC like recruiters email, gave them to her. Oddly enough, she landed an internship with Deloitte and she did not get the offer, the full-time offer. So she was bummed. So I'm like, okay, that's fine. You just try again. Like didn't work, you try again. And so she was working at Comcast as a customer service manager. And so I said, well, you need to go get your master's. Go get your master's in accounting so you can be CPA eligible because you need 150 credit hours to get your exam in the state of Florida, to get your license in the state of Florida. And I'm like, that'll give you another opportunity to recruit with the firms because the schools are going to have robust recruitment cycles because how they get their rankings is about placement. I place, 95% of all graduates within this, so you'll have that pipeline. So she was kind of nervous about, I'm older, I don't want to take out a bunch of debt, but like I convinced her to apply to Indiana University, the Kelley School of Business. I went to one of their diversity conference and I had sent two of my mentees to the master's program the previous year. And they had been extremely successful, got jobs and everything. So I sent her there. She got a really great financial aid package. Long story short, she graduated in 2018. She currently works for Ernst & Young as a senior. She works in forensics, a senior forensics accountant. She has her CPA license, and out of all like the worries and the strikes against her being like Caribbean and not even understanding Black American culture, and then even beyond that, like working in an environment where she's even more underrepresented because she's like from a different country and she's still a Black woman, but doesn't get the full experience of the Black American experience. So a lot of cultural references and norms that a Black American would get, she didn't get. And then her being much older, like starting her professional career at like 35, 34 years old, where most, individuals at her level will be 23. But I'm telling her, like, use that as your benefit. You have more life experiences. Like, you probably have a higher level of emotional intelligence. Don't allow all that to, like, use that as a benefit. Use your age and your experiences as a benefit. And, she's done extremely well, and she always constantly thanks me for that experience. And because of my, work with the AICPA, I was able to mentor several students. But that one experience stood out because I saw her transition from a shy call center agent to a confident CPA.
Yeah, wow. And just relationships are so important, and that's a really incredible example of that, just how much good it can do just being there and present.
Yep.
I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I've really enjoyed the conversation. So I think before we kind of go into final thoughts, I will ask one really general question because the MFOS program focuses on giving opportunities to first gen students. For you, what does being a first gen grad mean?
Being a first gen grad is the start of a legacy. I'm a first generation graduate, so my children won't be. But it's like for me, like I would say it is a reinvention of what we said earlier, like starting a new legacy of educated individuals within my family, but also like having that relatability factor. Like, yes, I'm a first gen, but I'm also a college graduate and a working professional. So just being able to be a chameleon and wear so many different hats. And I look at it as a badge of honor because it gave me the opportunity, MFOS gave me the opportunity to really do this college thing without having to worry about how I'm going to pay for food, how I'm going to do, all these other things. So, just, being a part of, I call it an illustrious cohort of students that are really blazing a new trail and going into, untrodden territories and creating a legacy. So that's what being a first gen means to me.
Wow, excellent. Any final thoughts? I mean, this is going into the archive with a lot of interviews from MFOS students and alumni. So is there anything else you would like to say for the record? Anything?
Yeah, I would say MFOS changed my life, honestly and truly. I don't know if I would be where I am today or even have the mindset that I have now if it weren't for MFOS, like being able to go to college and not have to, like, already dealing with a bunch of childhood traumas and stigmas already against me, but not having to worry about how I'm going to pay for things because I didn't have parents, I didn't have family members to subsidize my education. So it was just a weight lifted off of me to be able to go to college and do college the way that I wanted to do it and not have to worry about all the extraness that is accompanied by financial burdens. And beyond that, like MFOS has truly been a strong support system of mine. Some of my closest friends to this day are MFOS scholars. I'm forever indebted to the program, and just being able to learn. Like I learned, like we would have to go to like workshops before you receive your aid. And I remember there was a workshop about credit. Like, you guys are gonna get your refund check, but don't buy into all when you go to the mall, they're gonna get you to sign up for credit cards. And just being educated on credit and learning how to have a healthy relationship with credit is something that was a start for MFOS. So MFOS gave me, a lot of starts, like when it comes to real life, like about credit, about giving back, mentoring individuals. So, I'm forever grateful to the program, and MFOS continues to pay dividends in my life, over and over again. Is me getting, several opportunities because I'm an MFOS, scholar, having that relationship with Leslie, who's been like a pseudo, maternal figure for me, like being able to talk to her about all the crazy things that I was experiencing in college and like having somebody that's supporting me beyond, like from UF and beyond. So I would say the MFOS experience does not stop at graduation. It's, forever, and I'm forever grateful for the program. And, I guess I don't know how to express my gratitude in more, in other words, but just, I'm extremely grateful for the program. And I love to see all the transformative work MFOS has done in my life and in the lives of others.
So what advice would you give to an incoming MFOS student?
I would say be open-minded. Like this may be a fairly new experience, or it may not be a new experience for you, but be open-minded and listen to Leslie and the other program directors. Everything they're telling you is for your benefit. At the time, you may feel like, I'm an adult, I finally can do what I want to do, but like you have individuals there that are going to help you to not make mistakes and not go down those pitfalls, and leverage the community. Like MLFOS is more than about the funding. It's about the community that you're around. You're going to be around so many highly intellectual individuals from, many different walks of lives. Like, yes, you guys may have things in common, like being a first gen or having certain, coming from a certain socioeconomic background, but even within that community, there's diversity in that community. And you can meet so many different people that can help you and that will become, lifelong friends. So just be open to it and don't look at it as a stigma. Because when I went to school, there was like, oh, you got MLFS, you don't have to worry about this and that. So it's like some individuals kind of like kind of low key jealous, but don't worry about that. Like, don't look at it as a stigma. Like, that is a badge of honor. Where like that, like wear that with pride. Like being an MFO scholar, that is a badge of honor. You should be extremely proud of it. And when you leave UF, continue to give back. So when you receive those emails, pull out that credit card, make sure you donate, because you're paving a way for the next student that's just like yourself.
Excellent. Jerome, thank you so much for taking the time to speak today. I really enjoyed hearing your story and hearing about your time in the program. We can end the interview here, but yeah, have a great afternoon and thank you so much.